Irish-born James Hoban provided the architectural plans for the White House and served as one of the supervising architects for the construction of the Capitol. And whereas Irish-born Commodore John Barry was recognized by the United States Congress in September of 2002 as the first flag officer of the United States Navy. And whereas Commodore John Perry fought the last sea battle of the American Revolution off the coast of Florida. And whereas in 1813, Captain Oliver Perry, an Irish American, achieved a major naval victory in the Battle of Lake Erie. And whereas in 1942, the 5 Sullivan brothers made the ultimate sacrifice for democracy and freedom during the naval battle of Guadalcanal, and later had the destroyer USS Sullivan commissioned in their memory. Whereas 3 of the Spanish governors of the La Florida were actually Irish military officers. And whereas Father Richard Arthur, an Irish-born priest from Limerick, who was appointed parish priest for St. Augustine in 1597 and ecological judge of La Florida, established the first public school in America and opened it to both boys and girls of all races. Whereas Andrew Jackson, whose family came from County Antrim, served as Florida's military governor following its acquisition by the United States. And whereas Irish American, since America's inception, have provided and continue to provide leadership and service to the nation's political, business, and religious establishments. And whereas it is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and the many valuable contributions of Irish Americans. Now, therefore, I, Frank C. Ortiz, Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, do hereby proclaim the month of March 10, 2022 as Irish American Heritage Month. Congratulations.
We, on behalf of Chief Mike Nugent, President of the AOH Division II Broward County Ancient Order of Hibernians, we'd like to thank Mayor Ortiz, the City Commission, and the residents of Pembroke Pines for recognizing the contributions the Irish have made to this country, its culture, and its efforts to provide diversity everywhere. One thing I can say is if you came over here as an immigrant, whether it was Poland, Italy, Czechoslovakia, you sought out the Irish. We spoke the language, and that was it. And that's why you see we have friends of all cultures in the Irish community. So we thank you all. We love you all. That's everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Congratulations again. Okay, I'd like to read in a proclamation recognizing Monday, March 7th, 2022 as COVID-19 victims and survivors Memorial Day in the city of Pembroke Pines. COVID-19 victims and survivors Memorial Day. Whereas the first Monday in March has been designated as COVID-19 victims and survivors Memorial Day. And whereas COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, is an illness caused by a virus that can transmit from person to person and has spread across the world, creating a global pandemic that is having catastrophic effects on human life, our community, and our economy. And whereas local and state governments, health departments, and public servants have taken bold actions to protect residents, supporting struggling local economies, and finding innovative ways to provide services. And whereas in response to rapid spread of COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, essential workers have stepped up to provide critical services to help protect our communities and save lives, sacrificing their own health and safety. Whereas COVID-19 has had a disproportionate impact on low-income communities and communities of color, exacerbating inequities already prevalent in our system that we must address as a nation. And whereas public health guidance and policies targeted at prevention, such as social distancing, wearing masks in public, and staying home, might help mitigate the spread of COVID-19, prevent illness, and lessen the burden on individuals and society. And whereas the symptoms and severity of COVID-19 can vary dramatically by individual and the long-term health implications for survivors is largely unknown, as many survivors suffer with lingering side effects of disease long after they no longer test positive. And whereas each life lost to COVID-19 mattered and leaves a hole in the hearts of loved ones, family members, and surrounding community. Now, therefore, I, Frank C. Ortis, Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim Monday, March 7, 2022, as COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day in the City of Pembroke Pines, and urge all citizens to remember those who have lost their lives and honor those who are forever marked by COVID and continue to suffer from the impact of the virus. So that is our...
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. That was,
Seipel?
thank you, Mayor. That was really a very, very nice and certainly very timely proclamation. So thank you for providing that. I would be remiss, and I think you all would hold my feet to the fire if I didn't also make sure that everyone knew that March 1 through March 31st is Women's History Month. And so while tonight I am bringing that up, and you all are shaking your heads yes, right? All you guys, that, Mayor, I would ask that, I know it's been all over our city signs and everywhere throughout the city, but Mayor, I would ask that at our March 16th meeting that we have a proclamation prepared and that you would be able to read that March would be declared Women's History Month in the city of Pembroke Pines. So that would be my request, Mayor.
So done.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So
that was pretty easy. The other thing is I wanted to bring everybody some really, I think, very good news, and thanks to all that have helped. You know, we recently had our latest Raising Positive Children Forum, and we're doing them, you know, virtually still, not in person. And we had a little bit of a different setup. We actually filmed it from right up here on the dais, and we had a variety. We had psychologists, we had teacher, we had a student, we had our police officers. It was quite a setup here. And again, I'm very humbled but very proud to be able to tell you all that, you know, we stream it on YouTube. And that the last count that I had was that we were close to 4,200 viewers watching that video and getting that information. I saw Mr. Principal Castellano last evening at a school meeting, and he was telling me about the survey. He sends a survey out to the parents, you know, after each of the forums. And he had received like 2,200 and some odd responses back already from that, and they were all, you know, very positive and very much, you know, asking for that forum to continue, the Raising Positive Children to continue. And the biggest issue that they wanted us to continue really bringing and providing information on expertise, you know, through our professionals that are here, was on mental health with our children and how they are, mental health issues that they are having, which is still a real big issue for our young folks and families. So we are looking at having another Raising Positive Children. We want to have one more before the end of the school year in April. So I will obviously bring more information and share more with you all when we get that all firmed down, the title, who our speakers will be, and the actual date of what it is. Again, it will be a virtual setting, so you know, everyone can watch it from the comfort of their own home and ask questions if they need be. And so, Mayor, thank you for that. But one thing that's really important that I actually have to really share with you all is, you know, that guy Mark that I live with, I'm married to. It's his birthday in a couple days, so wanted to really say happy birthday, Mark. Happy birthday, everybody's happy birthday to you, and have a little surprise for him, so we'll. But anyway, happy birthday, Mark. Love you. Thank you, Mayor.
Is that it?
That would be it.
Okay. And also items to be pulled from the agenda.
Mayor, if I may.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Thank you, Mayor. It's not every day we get to speak about world events here at the local level. What's going on in Ukraine is quite, it hasn't been seen in really 2 generations, where a country invades another on the European continent. My great-grandfather, who I'm named after, was born in the region which is now Ukraine. And during World War II, my great-grandfather, he had escaped Jewish persecution by the Russians prior to World War I when he came to this country. In World War II, the Nazis grabbed 4 brothers, killed 3 of them, 1 survived. That brother who survived, his grandson, is now President Zelensky. I think it's important that we recognize this is more than just territory. This is hate. This is the largest Jewish population in Europe is in Ukraine. You won't find a larger population outside of Israel. This is something that I'm sure we have had conversations with our children. They want to know what's going on. Is there going to be a draft? What we need is to continue the conversation, be steadfast, and support the Ukrainian people for what they are as a democracy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good point. Okay, Ms. City Clerk.
No announcements of items pulled from the agenda.
All right, how about the auditor report?
No Commission Auditor report.
Appeals of Board of Adjustment decisions?
No appeals, Mayor.
Items at the request of the public?
No items at the request of the public, but there are members in the audience that wish to speak on items on the agenda.
Okay, you want to do that now?
When that time, when appropriate, Mayor. When the item
On the
is
agenda
before.
item?
Yes.
Okay. Now to the board and committee appointments, Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have an honor tonight to appoint Ms. Calibra Jacobs-Reed to the Diversity and Heritage Advisory Board. You know, although Ms. Reed has been a resident of Pembroke Pines for over 4 years, she has lived for many years in the Southwest Broward area, and she is highly aware of the diverse demographics in Pembroke Pines. As an accomplished professional, educator, equity trainer, disability advocate, and civic volunteer, she has the right stuff to contribute to the board's advancement of the city's inclusiveness goals. I have known Ms. Calibra for many years, and I can vouch for her integrity, credibility, and reliability. She's a loving mother, caring wife, and a loyal friend. When you read of her credentials and you get to know her personally, you will know why I am so excited to be able to make this appointment tonight. So again, I am proud to present to you Ms. Calibra Jacob-Reed as a District 1 representative of the Diversity and Heritage Board.
Congratulations. Would you like to come forward? Just push that button to speak, please. I need your name and your address. Does that work? Nope. The one that says, there you go. Now just pull that mic down, and the rest is yours.
All righty. Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Good, and thank you to the whole board. I have actually met most of you personally. It is such a pleasure to be appointed to the Diversity and Heritage Committee and to be able to serve my city in this capacity. As you said, for about the last 8 to 10 years, maybe longer, I've worked in different capacities, whether it's helping our seniors be able to vote, working with disabled children like my own, and of course, working with school teachers and getting them active in the community. This is now another opportunity to give back to the city that I love so much, that protects me and my children and provides us amazing opportunities. So thank you so much. I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we're on the consent agenda, items 1 through 13. What is your pleasure?
3,
Item
Mayor.
3 for Seipel. What else? Anybody else? Okay, if I'm not hearing any, I'll have a motion, item 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Seipel. Is there a second?
8,
Okay, if I'm not hearing any.
number 8.
Item second, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Second by the Vice Mayor.
Number 8, please. Hello?
Commissioner Castillo is, yes.
Hello?
What's going on?
Number 8.
Commissioner Castillo? Commissioner Castillo, you are asking for item 8.
Yes, I am asking for number 8, please. And please forgive, but there is a delay in the audio. So I'm doing the best I can.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hello?
What's going on?
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo, you are asking for item 8.
We have to fix it. I'm asking for number 8, please.
Okay.
And please forgive, but there is a delay.
Well, tell them not to do that. Please don't watch it and talk. That's what the little hesitation is. Let's try that. All right? All right. Try
Okay.
again. Much better. Much better.
Okay.
All right. All right, we're gonna take that motion back, and Commissioner Castillo wants item 8 pulled. So it's item 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11 through 13. Commissioner Seipel, second.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, second? Yes, sir. All right, discussion. Hearing none. Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're on item 3, Commissioner Seipel.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve the findings and recommendation of the Evaluation Committee and to award RFQ number PSEN-21-02, Transportation Master Plan to Metric Engineering, Inc., and to direct the city manager to negotiate a contract for services.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor Good, seconded. Commissioner Seipel, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to bring this up because I know there's an item later on in the agenda that talks about specifically hiring the master plan to hiring an engineer to create the master plan. So I just wanted to bring forward that the fact that it's already happening, that we have moved forward tremendously on a lot of progress with our whole transportation traffic issue. And so this one was specific to awarding to the master plan to Metric Engineering, Inc. And so what I would ask is that city manager would please expedite the negotiations to get the contract together and settled so we can move forward. We do have a lot of progress that is happening in a lot of different areas, but this whole overall master traffic plan needs to move forward so that we have a good solid plan, and it will take a little bit of time, so we shouldn't hold anything up. So city manager, if you could please do as much as possible to expedite the negotiations. I would hope that maybe you would have something to report to us even by next commission meeting, March 16th on that, so.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank you,
Seipel.
Mayor.
Further discussion? All right, call the roll on item 3, please.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. All right, we're now on item 14, city,
No, Mayor,
sorry.
number 8 for the record, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
8, that is
Thank you.
correct. Item 8, Commissioner Castillo.
This is a motion to approve a traffic enforcement agreement between the City of Pembroke Pines and Raintree at Mayfair Homeowners Association, Inc.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor Good, second. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I want to congratulate Mayfair for joining the team of homeowner associations that are getting these traffic enforcement agreements. However, I'd like to point the attention of the commission to the backup, page 3 of 10, sections 5.0 through 5.4, place an affirmative responsibility on these homeowner associations to put in signs and markings and no trespass signs in the front, and to keep their streets lined and so forth. We don't even do this on public roads. And at some point at the next meeting, we're going to have to have this discussion, Mr. Dodge, of the direction that we sent you to talk to the county about. Have you had any meetings with the county yet?
No.
Mr. Dodge?
I've had communication, there's been a transition of county administrators, and we're still trying to work out those meetings with the new administration. But we have been in contact with them.
I appreciate that. I'm going to vote in favor of the item, but I think it's highly unfair that we ask a homeowner association to do things that we in government can't do. That doesn't seem fair to me. If we can't line our own streets, we shouldn't ask them to line theirs. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All
Mayor?
right,
Mayor, I have a question.
go ahead, Commissioner Seipel.
Seipel. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I guess for either city manager or city attorney or maybe, I'm not sure. I hear what Commissioner is saying about asking communities to do certain things in their community, but it was my understanding, because I do have a number of communities in my district that do have this traffic enforcement agreement, and that there are certain requirements that must be met in order for, the purpose of that is to allow a police officer to enter into a private community, whether it's gated, not gated, but private streets in a community, in order to be able to issue a moving violation. Has nothing to do with any community, private, not private, gated, not gated, having police protection, where police officers on a routine basis circle through the communities, and if they see something going awry, they take action. This is totally something different. This is for moving violations, and it's my understanding that the reason that this is required is that in order for an officer to write a moving violation, the signage, whatever that signage is for, or whatever that infraction is for, it must meet the UTC code, or else it's not going to have any standing in court. It will be thrown out because it doesn't meet that. So, city attorney, city manager, is that correct? I mean, this is what's being asked for here is what we ask of every community. The same thing for traffic enforcement agreements, but it is a requirement because of the moving violation portion of what these officers would be doing.
Mr. Dodge, or?
I would like Mr. Kennedy to come forward and to explain exactly what the requirement is within this agreement.
Mayor, I know that I've had many discussions with Mr. Gorin, Attorney Gorin, as well as Attorney Julie Clark, specifically about a lot of this, and I thought that was my understanding. I just want to clarify we are.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy?
Carl Kennedy, city engineer. The communities which enter into a traffic enforcement agreement, their pavement marking and signage has to meet the MUTCD, and that's the same standard that we're held to as well.
All right.
We're all held to that same standard in order for the UTC to be valid.
Yeah, the code specifically requires that, private roadways, if they want to have the traffic enforcement agreement, have to meet those standards.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think
Yeah.
the question that was asked by the commissioners regarding road markings and lines, is that being required in here, other than a stop bar?
The pavement markings were designed by the engineer of record for Raintree, and they're the people who determine which were the proper signs and markings to be placed on the streets.
So, Mr. Dodge, then is what you're asking is, because this item talks about, or the issue was brought up about street markings as opposed to signs and that stuff. Is there a difference between a street, what's required as a street marking, or is it just a preference as opposed to a requirement of a sign?
Mr. Dodge? Mr. Kennedy?
The engineer of record is the professional who determines whether the signs, in his opinion, based on his experience, or whether he's done certain studies are warranted in those particular locations.
Right. So he follows then the requirement of the UTC, which speaks to signs.
Yes.
To signs, not necessarily street
Yeah, so
markings.
he would, they could be more stringent than the MUTCD, but he makes that professional, decision, to require those.
Right, I understand. Well, I agree in that, we never want to ask communities to have to spend more money or do more things than what, than what they really are looking to achieve. But if that's a requirement, then I guess that's a requirement that other communities have met as well, correct? In order to get this traffic enforcement agreement in place.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mr. Castillo?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Gorin, are you able to hear me, sir?
I hear you, Commissioner.
So here's the story. So we have a uniform traffic code, that covers all of the streets. And through this agreement, we bring in homeowner associations who have private roads. And we ask them to comply with the uniform traffic standards that apply to all roads. Correct?
The answer is yes. And through the mayor, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
So the point that I'm making is, if these uniform standards are good for private communities and we can enforce that on them by saying, but police won't, we won't enter into this agreement unless your roads are up to standard. The least we can do is the same on our end. And if the argument is that we need those streets up to uniform standards so the police can issue citations, then that should apply to public roads. And this worries me greatly. And this business about, well, it's up to the engineer. It's not up to the engineer. It's up to the uniform standards. You either meet standard or you don't meet the standard. And right now, in Pembroke Pines, many of our roads do not meet a standard. We know this because we sent the county a resolution saying the roads don't meet standard. We want you to fix them. So I'm bringing this thing up because we continue to enforce these rules on private communities, but we don't follow the rules ourselves in government. I'm not blaming the city of Pembroke Pines. We have a contract with the county. The county is not performing. We're going to have to deal with that issue. I'm simply highlighting that we have two standards here. One standard where we use our authority as a city to require this compliance from homeowner associations, but somehow we're not getting it done within government on the private roads, and I object to that. It's the same standard. That's why they call it uniform. Thank you.
All right, further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Mr. Schwartz?
Commissioner Seipel, you are right on point with respect to the signage. Back in 10 years ago, in 2012, I brought forward an item because there was through our own city engineering, a request to have condos like Colony Point and Hollybrook, Century Village, and Park Place to enhance their roads. I brought forward an item that was supported by the commission that would grandfather any condo community built prior to 1992, that they would not have to do that. And it saved these communities tens of thousands of dollars. Now, in my district, I have several homeowners associations who've gone through traffic enforcement agreements because they wanted to have police presence, they wanted to have speeding addressed, and there was never a road widening, there was never a road striping. It had to do with the actual signage itself and the sticker that goes on the back. So there are plenty of traffic enforcement agreements currently in place for stop sign running or speeding that occurs in homeowner associations throughout the city. And I believe this is what Raintree is looking at doing. With respect to DOT standards, the communities that are in my district do not meet FDOT road standards. As a matter of fact, the commission approved it without having those standards, and it saved developers a lot of money by not doing that. They were much narrower. They didn't have a certain posted speed limit. So this happens all the time. I think I would defer to the vice mayor with respect to a community within his district, but I think what the folks in Raintree are looking for is the stop sign running and the speeding that's occurring.
All right, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually pretty well understand this issue on both sides, and I agree with regards to what these communities are trying to accomplish. And I do understand that there is a certain level that needs to be met in order for enforcement to take place. But the one question I have, though, just we keep talking about, and Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, do we have any records of actually enforcing our gated communities to abide by the agreements that they've been signing?
Yep. Mr. Dodge?
Yeah. Are you saying that do we do inspections periodically to see if they are in compliance with it?
And yeah, and then tell them that they got to correct it.
Carl?
Carl Kennedy, city engineer. Yeah, we make inspections occasionally.
Okay, so it might be helpful to, Mr. Mayor, maybe I can make a request that we receive a copy of any enforcement action that has taken place over, let's say, the last 10 years, or I'm assuming how long this has been done. Okay, but that's all. And that's good because that serves a point for me too. Because the other side of it is that in the non-gated community, there are a number of things that do need to be addressed. And I don't disagree that this city should engage the county and enforce their agreement with us as well too. So if we are doing it, that serves as a great justification for us to then approach the county, that if we're enforcing our communities to do it, then we should ask them to, we're asking them to do their obligation to their contract as well.
Good.
So,
also, we've taken away the Crime Watch signs and now put up Neighborhood Watch. Because we want everybody to, if they see something that's out of the ordinary, just call right away. It's better to have something, taken care of, even though it looks a little fishy or whatever.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. And I agree with, a number of the statements that were made this evening, and that while we require it, the ability for it to happen still lies with the county giving that approval for it to come forward, and to start the process. So a lot of communities have been held up through the years because of waiting to get, that approval from the county for you know, a sign to go up here, a speed sign, whatever their request, whatever was required of them to meet the UTC standard. But it goes even farther than that. Sometimes stop signs are too close to an intersection. They've been placed, you know, improperly, and they need to be moved. Hedges need to be taken down because they're blocking something. So there's a lot to meeting this, and as Mr. Kennedy knows, when he goes out and inspects, there's a lot that goes into the review and then the final approval from us, from the city, that yes, this community has met all of that. But one of the things that was brought up was, you know, was again the county being very slow at responding to these requests. But it goes, for me, it goes even further than that. As I've brought up before and have had discussions, you know, with the county folks on this, is that the criteria that the county has was criteria that was written back in like 84, 85, 86, and there aren't many amendments that have come forward through all of those years about the criteria, like what is required in order for X, Y, and Z to happen, or X, Y, and Z to be approved. So that's very frustrating as well, because traffic today is very much different than it was, you know, many years ago when all of this was written. The way people drive, the amount of traffic, the number of roads that are out there that didn't used to be out there now, and just that whole volume. So that is part of the discussion, City Manager, that you and I have had, and that you also kind of indicated that with some of the discussion you had with the county on, you know, certainly speeding up the process, but also a bigger look at with the criteria and all that. I find it wrong that if you ask for a stop sign or you ask for a stop light at an intersection, that there have been some very bad accidents with fatalities, that you have to meet a certain criteria of fatalities before that gets approved. See, I think that's just so very wrong. That's so very wrong. If we in a community know that there is a problem, if our communities know their own community and know that there is a consistent problem, and maybe that doesn't meet that old antiquated metric criteria, but it meets today, that we have accidents over and over again, that needs to be changed. That's the part of what Mr. Dodge, you and I have had conversations about, that I'm hoping to get out of this change of our agreement with the county, is to bring that agreement into today's world and make it relevant for what we do in today's world with traffic. So as that comes back, I'm hoping that my colleagues will continue to be very supportive of that, you know, and bring up their own items and issues, and hope, you know, help it also as far as how to move this kind of stuff forward with pressure as we need to put on. So, Mr. Dodge, thank you again for those conversations, and I will continue with mine as well. A few things that I have brought forward, I felt very happy because they weren't just a flat no. They were like, well, let's keep talking about it. So I think that's a big opening when they at least say, let's keep talking about it. So, but thank you, Mayor.
City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're on item 14, City Attorney, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Good evening. Item number 14, for the record, on second reading and a public hearing, Mayor, is a motion to adopt proposed ordinance number 2021-29 on second and final reading, which is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, amending the City of Pembroke Pines Comprehensive Plan by providing a text amendment, adopting and incorporating a property rights adoption element, providing for transmittal of certified copies of this ordinance and transmission of the property rights adoption element to the State of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and any other interested governmental entities, directing the city manager and all appropriate members of the city administration to take all action necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and finally, providing for an effective date and mayor public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Seipel. Second? Is there a second? Vice Mayor, you second?
Second.
Vice Mayor, second. Discussion.
Public hearing, Mayor.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor, public hearing, if you will.
Oh, public hearing.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Anybody on this item from the public? By phone, City Clerk? All right, let's call the roll.
No, ma'am. Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. The permanent number is ominous, it's 1984.
Thank you. Motion, item 15, sir.
15, for the record, is as follows. It is
Sorry?
also an item on second reading. It's a motion to adopt proposed ordinance number 2021-13 on second and final hearing with a public hearing, Mayor and Commission. It is proposed ordinance number 2021-13, which is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, adopting the proposed small-scale land use plan amendment, amending the city's land use on an approximate 7.6-acre property generally located north of Pembroke Road and west of Southwest 145th Avenue, is more particularly described in Exhibit A, amending the city's local land use plan map from office park to irregular residential, that's 46.1 dwelling units per acre, for the purpose of developing 350 multifamily units, providing for transmittal of certified copies of this ordinance and transmission of the updated land use plan map to the Broward County Planning Council and to Broward County Commission, requesting Broward County to amend its future land use map and to recertify the city's land use map, authorizing and directing the city manager and all appropriate members of the city administration to take all action necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and finally providing for an effective date. And Mayor and Commission, a public hearing on item number 15.
All right,
Thank you.
I need a motion.
Thank you, Mayor.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schwartz, second by the Vice Mayor. Discussion?
Public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody from the public want to speak on this item? City Clerk from the phone?
No one, ma'am.
Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The record,
Thank
Mayor and
you.
Commission, the permanent number for our records is 1985. 1985.
And City Attorney, I must say that we're glad to have you back,
Nice to be back. I'm grateful to be back, actually.
even though we had great,
You did.
advice. But
My younger brother, Mr. Horowitz, did a fine job. Yes, yes.
Resolutions, item 16, please.
He still has more hair than me. Anyway, item number 16 for the record is a motion to adopt proposed resolution number 2022-R-05, which is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, approving the Pines and 72nd plat for approximate 4-acre property generally located south of Pines Boulevard and east of Southwest 72nd Avenue, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, severability, and finally providing for an effective date. Item 16 on the floor for consideration.
All right, is
So
there a
moved.
motion? Motion by the Vice Mayor, second. Commissioner Seipel, discussion? Hearing none, call a roll, please.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank
And
you.
that number for the record, Mayor and Commission, is number 3786. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Item 17, sir.
Item number 17 for the record is as follows. It's discussion and possible reconsideration of the previous action by the City Commission on February the 2nd of 2022 regarding the community rating system, that's the CRS system, and the potential for the city to increase its ranking one or more levels to provide for a larger flood insurance premium discount for residents of the city by hiring a firm to assist the city in increasing the city's CRS rating pursuant to Section 35.18, subsection C2 of the city's procurement code and the Code of Ordinances. That's on the floor for consideration, number 17, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mayor?
Commissioner Castillo, are you moving this?
It's a discussion.
Commissioner Castillo, are you moving this?
Yes.
Commissioner
I'm
Castillo, is
moving
there
to
a
approve
second?
it.
Is there a second? Second on the item? I'll second the motion. Okay, Commissioner Castillo for discussion?
Yes, I had a conversation. Can you all hear? I'm sorry.
We can hear you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So, I had a conversation with the city manager, and he makes the argument we pay him to make, which is that he feels that this only involves 1,800 homes, and that the decrease in the amount of money that they might pay currently would be less than it would cost us to do this. However, I'm in favor of doing it because it improves the city, and it has a tendency to improve our property values. And those 1,800 homes matter, and they are also tax-paying properties. And the $26 is the current fee, and the 1,800 is the current number, but that can change at any time. And I think that when it comes to making the city better in any way, shape, or form, it can't just be a cost-benefit analysis. We have to look at it from a couple of different ways. And I'll give you a perfect example. It costs the residents a tremendous amount of money to do what this commission and past commissions have done in the fire department, which is a Class 1. Class 1 doesn't get people any less in home insurance discounts. It should, but it doesn't. It should because it better protects property than a Class 6. Certainly protects property better than a Class 5. Yet we do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the higher level of service. And so I understand that this is, and it would be a different thing if we were talking about many, many millions of dollars. But the amounts in question here are workable. It works to improve the city. The 1,800 homes are important parts of our community, and I'm going to defend their right to get every discount, the same way that I'm going to defend the right of every home in our city to get the discount. So I'm in favor of doing this, even if it does cost a little bit more money. Thank you.
Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. The comment with respect to the Class 1 fire, it goes beyond paramedic and fire services. It's the building department and the plan review. That's a part of the ISO rating that impacts our insurance rates. When you have a Class 1 department, there are certain criteria that needs to be met. Once that's met, the actuarial review of that impacts the overall cost that we pay for insurance, home insurance. The ISO 1 has to do with the location of fire hydrants in the event of a fire and how quickly that could be put out. So,
point of clarification.
Point of clarification, Commissioner Castillo.
Mr. Mayor, you will recall that you and I were at a meeting in Tallahassee not so long ago, a couple of years ago, where we directly asked the insurance commissioner why ISO ratings of 1 didn't pay less homeowner insurance than someone who was ISO 6. You and I were both at that meeting during Broward days one year, and his answer was because the state of Florida doesn't acknowledge ISO ratings. So I will say again, and I will correct my colleague, ISO ratings do not reduce homeowner insurance payments on single-family homes. It just doesn't. It should. I agree with what you're saying in principle, but it does not. Yet we in Pembroke Pines uphold that level because it's the right thing to do. It's excellent service, and that's why I'm also supporting this item. Thank you very much.
All right, and I did not go to Broward days, so I'm not sure of the meeting, but all right, Commissioner Schwartz, go ahead and finish.
Anyone who looks at their declaration page, go through your policy, you're going to see the ISO ratings, you're going to see the fire department, you're going to see the building department, it's there. Now, we currently have dysfunction in Tallahassee where they deregulated the Office of Insurance and Regulation, and we all got crushed with a 30% increase. So, yeah, of course, if they can put money in the pocket of insurance companies, why not? But nationally, ISO is a national program, and it is recognized by all underwriting. Now, whether or not Florida policy, insurance policy holders are getting the maximum benefit, that's an issue inside of Tallahassee. But one of the reasons why we have our ISO rating for our fire department isn't just because of the, for homeowners insurance. It's because we need to make sure that we have proper staffing levels and the right amount of equipment. And they do an outstanding job doing that. So, Mayor, I'd like to move on to the item that's actually on the table and ask Vice Mayor Good This did come back. You had, a couple meetings ago, you had made the case for it. Can you recap, because I see opposing views at this point, and I'd like to be able to put this to bed. So where are you on this? I'm sure you've had conversations with the manager.
And let me just say before I recognize the Vice Mayor, as long as I've been here, we've always been on number one ISO, and for good reason, I think. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I've always been in favor of us improving our CRS rating. And, you know, one of the reasons is certainly because of the insurance and the value that it gives back to the residents for the insurance. But the other thing that I'd like to add too is that this CRS rating is also a very strong communication element, both to the residents and to the city. It ensures that the city is doing everything that the city can do to manage stormwater issues, and it also communicates to the residents what they can do to protect themselves from stormwater issues. And so I'm in favor of anything that we can do. I mean, we just went through a series of rain events last year. We have spent money in conjunction with the South Broward Drainage District in order to support some of those drainage improvements. And I see that this is just another tool in the box to make certain that we tell the residents that we are focused on the protection of their home and properties through stormwater management tools.
Further discussion? Call a roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Reports of the Broward League, reports of the league.
Luncheon tomorrow?
We're coming to a close on the legislature.
Yep.
Thank God.
Yeah.
One more week, and it's all over. So hopefully we can get
One
through
more
it.
week.
Anything else, Commissioner Seipel?
Luncheon tomorrow where they'll, another update on exactly where we are and who's still, there are still some hope to reach out to a few people on some things. It's not over till it's over, so keep working on some of the significant issues.
Manager?
Yes, Mayor, 2 items. The first one is an announcement to advise the community that the rollout of the blue carts will begin on May 1st, 2022, and we will be advertising that program and how it will work in all our social media platforms. So for everybody to keep their eyes out for that information. The other thing I would like to mention to you, we need to have a budget visioning workshop meeting. And what I would suggest, just an opportunity in the month of April, I would like to see if you all are available on April 27th, which is the last Wednesday of the month. But I would like to suggest that the first meeting of April and the second meeting of April, the 4th, the 6th of April and the 20th of April, be combined into one meeting on the 13th. So we would have 2 meetings in April. The April 13th meeting, which is a Wednesday night, and then have a budget workshop on the 27th.
The 13th's not going to work.
Without objection?
13th's not going to work.
I'm sorry? Commissioner Schwartz?
13th won't
I can't hear you.
Commissioner Schwartz can't hear you.
13th won't work for me, Mr. Dodge. I have,
The what day?
the combination.
Oh, okay. I'm offering it as a suggestion, but if it doesn't, then we'll have the regular meeting.
I'm not opposed to having the regular meetings and then having the 27th as far as budget workshop. We didn't really get one last year because everything that was going on. I think we should take advantage of the 3 Wednesdays, to be honest with you.
The 3 Wednesdays?
Yeah, the 3 Wednesdays, the 6th.
That's fine. I'm just offering it up.
And one more question for the city manager, if I may, Mayor. The city manager and I had a conversation regarding something that had come up during the towing item at the last meeting. and I saw a flaw that could quite honestly be inappropriately used against the administration, and I think there's an item in the procurement code that really should be fixed. Currently, the manager just needs to bring back any emergency purchase, but there's really no time frame. And I think that's completely unfair to the administration to have an elected official question, well, why wasn't this brought back sooner rather than later? So,
Excuse me, are we still on meeting dates?
it would be my recommendation, with the manager's consent, of course, is to amend that portion of the procurement code. That would be very simple. Within 3 days of an emergency purchase, the manager emails the elected body, and within 60 days, that be placed on the agenda for ratification. And I think that would kind of tighten things up.
Manager?
We certainly can look at that and bring it back to the commission.
All right.
Thank
What
you.
else do you have, City Manager?
I have, Mayor.
Commissioner Castillo?
Mayor, I'm good any Wednesday in April. You just let me know when, and I'm happy to be there.
All right, City
Thanks.
Manager?
Mayor?
Commissioner Seipel?
Thank you, Mayor. To City Manager, I'm glad to hear, Mr. Dodge, about the May 1 Blue Card rollout. But that's just going to be where we start notifying residents of their options, keeping or not keeping, correct?
No,
And how all that will work.
we'll be doing that immediately.
Okay.
And it will begin May 1.
So when you say begin, please explain to me what you mean.
That would
begin.
be the first week that the blue cards would be utilized by the community.
Okay,
So we have for the month of March and April, the communication with the residents is how they would go about registering to have a blue card, as well as if they would like their blue card picked up if they're not going to use it.
Okay, okay, but explain to me specifically how you see contacting, what do you see, how do you see that playing out?
We're going to be, it's going to be in the newest edition of the City Connect. It's going to be on our website. It's going to be on all our social media platforms, and it'll be on our water bills, notifying the public that they can call in. If they do not register, then because they will be providing them with a sticker for the cart. If they do not call in for that,
Mayor.
then
Right, so-
they will not be able to have the service, but they could get the service at any time. It's not a
Okay.
deadline.
Well, I would request that you would then, if my colleagues would want it as well, but you would provide to me a letter to residents stating steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how it's going to be played out. Because I have great luck with having a letter like that I take to my HOAs and go to their meetings or have them put it on their websites. It gets responded to, I find,
It can
very
be
well.
provided to you tomorrow, Commissioner. We have it.
That would be great, thank you.
Mayor, if I may ask the manager again.
Are you done, Commissioner Seipel?
For the moment, I am, yes, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Manager, was that your item?
Yes, I'm through, Mayor.
Do you have another item, Mr. Manager?
No, I do not.
I thought you had two. No? Okay. Commissioner Schwartz, what did you have?
Mr. Dodge, what part of the motion that we gave you direction to bring something back before you put anything out to the public?
Mr. Dodge?
I'm bringing it back to you now. You'll be getting a copy of this document.
Okay, I'm not going to wordsmith this, okay? I specifically, the item that we had approved was that this commission is going to approve any and all communication before it goes out to the public. I can appreciate that you have perhaps a calendar of events that you would like to see the rollout, but with respect to a letter and the City Connect and how things are going to work logistically, we were very specific that this elected body is going to own this. This isn't following you, sir.
Then Commissioner will provide this document to everybody tomorrow. We'll put it on the next agenda for your authorization.
All right,
We'll just
thank you.
make it a little bit tighter schedule.
That's all I was asking for. Thank you.
I
City
don't
Attorney.
remember it that way, I'm sorry.
City
I don't
Attorney.
remember it that way.
City Attorney.
May I proceed, Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. Good evening. If you would permit Mike Stan to approach the podium briefly, I have a quick presentation regarding
Stan?
some information which we received today. As you know, Mayor and Commission, you've scheduled public hearings on the redistricting ordinance for 2 dates, March the 16th and March the 30th, given some deferrals over the past number of months with regard to the issue of refining the maps, looking at the issues, and proceeding forward along with the work and work being performed by the folks at FAU. Having said that, as you may remember, the supervisor this past year provided information that suggested that even if the commission were to have changed the maps, they would not be potentially operationally effectuated for the March election. They could not be done physically, not operationally, could not be done. And we, as your city attorneys, provided written evidence of our review of that and confirmed for the record that you were legally protected because of the exigency of the circumstances and the inability to perform, not because you've not taken your public life and your public commitments legally correctly, but because the other side could not perform, that being the supervisors. At this point, though, Mr. Stam has received information today which does give me some concern from a timing perspective. You do have an obligation under the city charter to relook at and to finalize maps going forward. Apparently, there is a supervisor elections concern that because of the number of precincts in the city and the reallocation of precincts and perhaps the even increase in precincts given the population shifts, that the supervisor may give us a more constrained outside date for when the district maps must be approved. I don't have that letter. I believe the letter is going out as soon as perhaps tomorrow, if not sooner. But the end result of which is I just want to sensitize the commission to one thing, which is the fact that if this letter says that the date certain at which the supervisor must receive the city's ordinance regarding redistricting, whether it's the same map, a different map, or something in between, there may be a need on the 16th, we're not sure yet, that there may have to be two readings of the ordinance to be able to submit in time and to be compliant with both the charter, number one, and more importantly for the supervisor who needs to incorporate our plan within the overall redistricting plan for Broward County. And Mike, that's probably your cue to, with the mayor's permission, to open up that door.
Mr. Stam?
Thank you. Mike Stam, Director of Planning and Economic Development. I received a call from the supervisor's office generally asking where our map was. They knew that we had had correspondence in the past. Their initial letter to us talked about mid-March. They planned on trying to finalize the precincts. They also had provided correspondence to other cities saying the deadline was the 31st. It appears that most of the cities that were the 31st seem to be much smaller cities with maybe 1 or 2 precincts, whereas Pembroke Pines has many precincts, and they are also having challenges, and the city clerk can attest to this, with possible precincts being closed, relocated. So the city clerk, the supervisor's office asked how soon we could get our potential maps to them so that they had plenty of time to work through this issue. I do know that other cities are transmitting their maps, if not today, over the next couple of days. I know other cities have already transmitted their maps. I believe Cooper City transmitted them in December. Hollywood's transmitting tomorrow. Tamarac's already transmitted their changes, North Lauderdale. What we would be generally asking for is the possibility to do first and second reading on the 16th with the ratification at the first meeting in April. However, in order for us to do that, we would have to advertise in advance tomorrow in order to make that happen. It's my understanding based on our last meeting where we discussed this, we were looking out a couple weeks, I think post-election. However, it was a surprise to me to get the call that I received from their GIS staff asking where the city's maps were. I explained the situation, and I was told that the supervisor would be reaching out to the commission with a letter kind of reiterating generally what I've stated. Again, I didn't get to talk to the supervisor. I was talking to the supervisor's staff. But I brought it to the city attorney. We do have the ability to make this happen, first and second reading on the same meeting. When we do that, city attorney can clarify the procedure. We typically have a ratification afterwards. City attorney, did I get that correct?
So far.
City attorney?
Yeah, Mayor, the key factor is that this happens to be what I would consider a legally exigent circumstance, because it's a third party you don't get to control. It's the supervisor. And knowing about this window existing in the context of their need to redo the county maps would put the city in a bit of a difficult challenge if you deferred. So the only reason for suggesting this discussion this evening is to, in an abundance of legal caution and operational caution on behalf of the city's administration, is to pre-advertise the item for 2 readings under the ordinance, which would allow for a later ratification, and we will know what the date is once we hear from the supervisor within the next 24 to 48 hours. But the objective is, as I'm hearing it, that larger cities such as Hollywood or Fort Lauderdale, and I think us, we have the most precincts and the most conflict that's going to occur for the supervisor to actually get his work done to make the Broward County precincts all mesh, if I'm saying that correctly.
I
Mayor?
was informed today,
Mayor?
Fort Lauderdale was contacted also.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't quite fully comprehend the fact that we don't have a map. We do have a map. We just don't have a revised map as was presented by staff to this commission. So we've had a lot of conversation, and I'll still stand behind the position that I've taken, is that I support map revisions, providing that the data supports it. I still don't believe that the data supports the need for the revision. So I still believe that we have a map that is already in existence. And so what is the reason why we can't submit what we currently have as a map? I'm missing that point.
Sam?
And again, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong here, the charter asks and directs the commission to take action following the census. Whether that action is adopting a new map or, let's use the term, reaffirming the previous map, the existing map,
Yes.
based on data, the commission has to take some sort of action. It does not mean that we don't have a map in place. However, if the commission were to take action after the precincts were drawn, it could be problematic for the voters of the city of Pembroke Pines. When I spoke to the commission before, when this item was discussed last, I provided the same apprehension then that I'm providing now. You know, we brought this item back to the commission back in October. We went through a public process, and we're here today. Again, I didn't bring this forward if I didn't receive a phone call from the supervisor of elections, who's got a monumental task of trying to find precincts throughout our community and throughout Broward County to reflect population changes and updates. Again, I've had conversations with the clerk. We've had some precincts possibly closed that won't be available for various elections. This is a challenge. The supervisor has, I believe, engaged FIU to help them redraw these precincts, and they are trying as much as they can with externalities that are not only theirs, the state, the feds, to draw precincts. And based on the amount of precincts we have, it would be beneficial for us to, at least out of abundance of caution, take this action.
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, so when the time is right, then I'd like to make a motion for reaffirming the map when the time is right. Thank you.
Second.
Well, my
Second.
Mr. Mayor.
point of clarification.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor, if you'd like to make a motion, now's the time.
Yes, so I'd like to motion that we reaffirm the existing map as it is today.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that. Yes,
Second by Castillo. Discussion on the motion.
Sure.
yes.
Who is that?
Commissioner Schwartz.
Commissioner Schwartz, go ahead. Speak into the mic, please.
City Attorney,
Yep. Yes, sir.
we have affected parties. Where's this advertised?
Let me answer that question.
This commission.
City Attorney,
This
answer the question,
this commission, okay,
Wait a minute.
this
Wait,
commission
you asked the
gave us.
question. Mr. Schwartz, you asked the question. I'm going to get you an answer. Stop.
I'm not done with my question.
You were. You gave him a started answer, and you interrupted.
I was
City
interrupted.
Attorney, please give
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor.
Schwartz the answer.
The motion offered by the Vice Mayor and seconded by Commissioner Castillo is not out of order. All it would do, quite frankly, is direct the administration and staff and City Attorney's Office to bring back an ordinance which must be adopted by your charter, which would confirm the current maps as they exist today. The motion tonight would not set in motion anything except that direction. So
Thank
there
you.
would be public hearings because the ordinance requires it.
Correct.
All right,
Whether we have,
Commissioner Schwartz?
if I may
City
quickly,
Attorney.
whether there are two public hearings on the same night or one.
So, City Attorney, this commission directed advertisement on March 16th and March 30th, not April 1st, based upon the testimony provided 2 meetings ago. So we already had the advertising requirement.
No, you didn't. Mr. Sam, please clarify if you can.
We have, the commission gave direction, however, those advertising, the actual advertising has not taken place for those meetings yet. So we have the ability today, or actually first thing tomorrow morning, to transmit the advertisement to do first and second reading on the 16th. The only reason we were scheduling the second meeting is to try to beat the 31st. The reality is that we were approached by the supervisor to try to get our maps in as soon as possible. If, again, whichever map is chosen, I'm not suggesting it needs to be an option or the existing map. It's either reaffirmation that, hey, this is your current map, or these are the new maps, whatever happens. We have not done the formal advertising for the 16th or the 30th yet. The 30th, we could not advertise for until a map option was chosen, so then the advertisement would reflect the map option.
Commissioner Schwartz.
So, City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
The supervisor election failed to perform. They notified us. It didn't matter what we did, they weren't going to be able to do it. And I don't know of a city election, unless someone gets removed from office for whatever reason, that it would impact any of our precincts. Broward County, have they finalized city manager, city attorney?
I believe they have.
Yes, December.
They have
Yes, they
transmitted?
did.
How about the state offices? Have they concluded? Has the congressional been completed yet? Because honestly, we're talking about the August election. This isn't a Pembroke Pines issue. I'm asking about what has been done since we last saw each other.
Point of order, Mayor?
Hold on, City Attorney. Hold on. City Attorney?
To the extent of statewide office, I cannot answer that question, but I can only affirm for the record my legal advice, which is under our charter, there is an absolute legal obligation to adopt a legal document to confirm what maps you are proposing to the supervisor elections. The complication, which Commissioner Schwartz has brought to our attention, and Mr. Stam, is a timing issue, which you didn't create. If that was created, perhaps your deferral created it, but that's not the issue. You have the right to defer anything you think is legally justified to be deferred. The problem now is the supervisor and his time frame to get your maps, whether they be modified or kept the same, before a certain date. I don't know what that date is. That's the challenge for us this evening.
So the item that was...
Point of order, Commissioner Castillo.
I have a question for the city.
Point of order,
Thank
Commissioner.
you very much. So, thank you very much. I would ask that we not make disparaging comments about the supervisor of elections. Supervisor of elections is dealing with the same difficulties we are. This census was delayed seriously, and the situation is now where he has had to, with his office, deal with the situation that was imposed on him, and he says that he wasn't able to do it. That's not a failure. That's an admission of what's possible. Let's please not disparage other elected officials. It's just not necessary. The language that he provided was appropriate. The second thing is that
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
what
sir.
is your point of order?
We should follow the rule of the commission and not disparage other officials. Thank you. There's no need to be pointing out failures.
Commissioner Schwartz?
He didn't have the ability to do it. That's it.
All right. All right, Commissioner Schwartz.
City Attorney, the item that was brought forward to us, I think, 2 meetings ago?
In February.
In February. We had 4 choices, A, B, C, and leave it alone. Am I correct?
I was not there, but my younger brother was.
That is correct, yes.
So how is that any different? Advertising, that was advertised that there was a potential choice. Are you saying that back in February, we would have picked something and then we would have had a first and second reading? Is that what you're trying to get to?
Because the title of the ordinance was generic enough to include an exhibit that would include maps that would reflect your ultimate operational decision, legislative decision, to decide which maps to choose. So you reserve that right to yourself, but the title was movable, was flexible, was fungible to the extent possible, to give you flexibility.
So what's being asked of us is really no different than what was brought to us in February. A decision has to be made on behalf of this commission, whether it's the existing or A, B, or C.
May I respond?
So I don't understand the motion itself, because it's still the same legally advertised option that will come back to us that we can have first and second reading on.
City Attorney?
The answer is that I perceive that the Vice Mayor's motion, seconded by Commissioner Castillo, expresses their interest in maintaining the existing map structure. I will tell you that motion may be legally appropriate, but the end result of which is it will simply allow staff to hear that and to place before you on the meeting of the 16th of March an ordinance, much like the one you saw before, with the same reference to a blank, that you'll have, at that meeting, you'll have to give a public hearing and fill in the blank as to what map what map plan you're choosing.
Okay, so it's.
Could I add real quick?
No, so we still have 4 options then on the 16th.
But if, generally speaking, yes, but tonight you're expressing a preference, as the case may be, which is your prerogative on a motion and a second.
Okay.
All right,
So now I get it.
City Clerk, call the roll.
But if I may, Mayor, if I may, just to be sure, Mayor, just to be clear, Mr. Stam is in a conundrum because he's operational staff, and the issue is with your action this evening, it will include the city's ability to advertise for 2 readings on the 16th, and not knowing what the supervisor's end game is with regard to a date. If it's April 1, then we'll have more time.
Was the motion in order or not?
Well, just as long as the motion embraces that concept that we're going to double advertise beginning tomorrow to make sure you're covered.
Okay, so does the motion agree?
Thank you, Mayor.
Does the motion agree with the City Attorney? Yes. Okay. All right, City Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And one
Thank
more.
you, Mr. Stam.
I'm sorry. I have one more thing, Mayor, just to remind the commission.
I'm sorry?
I have one more item under my report, with your permission. Thank you. The City of Pembroke Pines Hollywood Large User Agreement litigation matter will give you more information. The calendar call is March the 28th. The calendar call proceeds to be a trial.
One moment, please. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
But it seems like other commissioners are having trouble hearing too. It just seems like it's coming, but it's mute, you know? Any way we could check that? Or maybe we gotta speak into the mic a little louder. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
I wanna make sure I get everything you're saying correct.
Just want to give the commission, this is public information, that the trial of the Pembroke Pines Hollywood Large User Agreement case is scheduled for a calendar call on March the 28th. There are depositions basically every day, including the managers, which has occurred. My deposition is all day Friday, or to some degree Friday. Others will be taken this week. We're finishing up discovery, and we'll brief the commission as best we can before the actual setting of trial. We have a belief, given my emails to you in recent days, that the trial will begin, I think, April the 4th. So we'll keep you posted and advised, just to make sure, and Mr. Dodge and I will spend the physical time in the courtroom yet again. Thank you for listening. Appreciate the information.
All right, thank you. Any questions to the city manager, city attorney? All right, Commissioner Castillo, item 18, please.
That'd Schwartz.
Thank you. Thank you. This is discussion, update, and possible action on progress made to install gates on Northwest 4th Street, hire an engineer to create a citywide traffic master plan, and on meetings with county administration regarding the status of road markings, resolutions, and the future of traffic engineering in our city, all is directed by the city commission. And I'm very, very glad to see progress on my second item, which we don't need to discuss because Commissioner Seifel did a good job covering it. We're hiring an engineer. I hope that engineer calls us all and has community meetings. It would be very illuminating for him or her. The second is, the last item was also discussed by the city manager. We have a new county administrator coming in, and he is getting ready to have discussions there. And we hope that this thing moves forward. Commissioner Seifel, I see absolutely nothing wrong with the current language that we have in the agreement, but I'm always open to whatever's an improvement. But I have very, very serious concerns about Broward County and entering into new agreements with any party when they can't keep the current agreements that we have. Mr. Dodge, what is the status, and this is the second commission meeting in a row that I'm asking this, on the progress made to install the gates on Northwest 4th Street?
Carl can come down and update you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Right. Item 19, sir, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I'm asking the engineer to update us on the item.
Carl Kennedy, City Engineer.
All right.
We've solicited prices for the gates, and they're supposed to have been back here this week, but we haven't received them yet. So I anticipate getting those very soon. And for the gate that we know can be placed at 202, we have to put electric in, so I've hired the engineer to do the actual electrical plans for that, since we have the civil portion designed.
Mr. Dodge,
Right.
I need you to get personally involved in this and meet with these folks and get it going. This is an emergency situation. The commission issued a special order. We're supposed to be moving forward. It's not supposed to be business as usual in proceeding with this. We're supposed to be proceeding with urgency, and I just don't see that coming out of administration. I am asking you to personally get involved in the meetings and make sure that this gets done swiftly.
All right. Further
Mayor?
discussion.
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead,
Can
Commissioner Slade.
I get that? Can I get that commitment,
I'd like to
please?
say that on the discussion about the agreement with.
I haven't gotten my answer from the manager. Excuse me, Commissioner Seifel. I'm asking the manager.
I have the question, Mayor. Yes, I will get personally
stop.
involved.
Stop.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Castillo, what was the question?
I answered it.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes, sir.
what was the question?
You didn't hear my question? My question
Commissioner
was,
Castillo,
will
what was the question?
the manager get personally involved in the
Commissioner,
discussion?
Commissioner, you said you had something else to the manager. What was it?
It was that I needed him to get personally involved in the discussions and accelerate the process to install the gates.
All right, we
And he
got
said
that.
he would.
All right.
Now,
Okay.
and now he said he would. We'll discuss it again at our next meeting.
All right, good. All right.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Seifel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your patience. This is obviously a big issue that we've been talking about for a long time. And as far as the county agreement, I want to make it very clear, because this was brought up at the last meeting by my colleague. The word terminate the agreement came out. I want to be very clear that I am not asking and have never asked for the county traffic engineering.
Point of clarification.
Traffic
I have
Hold on,
never asked
Commissioner
for the
Castillo.
termination
Hold
of the
on,
agreement.
Commissioner
I haven't
Castillo.
finished either. The traffic engineering contract that we have with them would be amended, not terminated, not taking on all of that liability and issue. That was never my point. And so I want to just clarify that. But I do want to say that I'm very happy that Mr. Kennedy was able to, meet with some of the homeowners out there and work out the intricacies of what will happen on the west end of 4th Street, closer to 208. And I think we're getting much closer to a solution for that. So thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for your hard work on that. The east end seemed to be kind of a no-brainer. And things are moving along quickly, perhaps, not as quickly as we all would want for them to happen, because we have really ascribed urgency to this, because it is all of this traffic has, at least in what I have said, is clearly a health and safety issue wherever we are looking at it. It's health and safety. So the urgency has always been there, at least since last September and October. Not a lot, I have to be truthful, not a lot happened before that. In the years prior to that, there was not. There were no action items, there were no items placed on the agenda to actually make something happen. So I am very proud, I am very happy that we are moving forward with that, and I continue to appreciate the support of my colleagues and of the city in helping us as a citywide project work on traffic mitigation and get to the point where we've hired the engineer, Mr. Dodge is now negotiating with, but where we get a master traffic plan that I've asked for, and we are moving in that direction, folks. It is happening in the city. It didn't happen before, but it is happening now. And Mayor, I have other things that I could say, but you know what? And it doesn't matter. We all know what's happening. We all know it's moving forward. You know, all the good things are happening. Our school areas are getting safer, and our residents are getting safer. So again, colleagues, thank you always for your support. Mr. Dodge, thank you for your support, and staff, as always, Mr. Stam and Mr. Kennedy especially. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Commissioner Castillo, you had a point?
Yes, we'll talk about it more at the next meeting. 5 months is too long, way too long, and I'll bring it up again at our next meeting. Madam Clerk, if you could just put on the agenda for the next meeting an update on the progress made to install gates on Northwest 4th Street, and hopefully we can get those gates up. There's no need for further delay. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. Your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, item 19, motion for reconsideration, asking that the mayor and city commission reconsider their prior passage and adoption of item number 19 from the February 2nd, 2022 city commission agenda relating to the approval by the city commission of that certain First Amendment to the memorandum of understanding relating the pending solid waste study, including the proportional payment for same, the status of the waste generation composition, and the scheduling of the winter review of the solid waste composition from the present to November 2022.
Is there a second for reconsideration? Second. All right, Commissioner Schwartz, second the motion. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, at our commission meeting of February 2, what was brought before this commission was an item that talked about a solid waste generation study that was an important component towards the creation of a solid waste authority, of which eventually the city is going to be asked to participate in. And when that was brought forward, there was questions that were sort of deferred because it was presented as an item of urgency. And unfortunately, I'm here tonight to report to you that that urgency that was represented has gone away. I can tell you that this item, when it was brought before you all, there was a real sense of urgency at the time. At the January 26th meeting, which is online at the Broward League of Cities, you can listen to the audio. What happened was there was...
Bless you.
Broward County staff brought forward the agreement between the county and SCS Engineers. So this is not an agreement with the cities. This is an agreement with the county and the SCS Engineers. And they introduced the item as saying that there was a very tight timeline of February 11th in order to be able to begin the solid waste study. And that was primarily so that it could catch the winter season. So, and they made it very, very clear that if we did not get 90% approval from all of Broward County cities, that they would miss that window and would push it out 8 months. So at that meeting, there was also, requests for additional review on that contract. but the county staff again reiterated the urgency of getting this done. So even some of the solid waste working group members were encouraged not to ask any further questions other than just go ahead and get this thing approved and trust. So there was more conversation. There was an understanding of issues about being able to get 90% of all the cities in such a short time. You know, you're talking about January 26th to February 11th, or actually it was earlier in that month. It gave them 30 days. So it was actually, yeah, right, 30 days. So it was actually the January 10th meeting or something like that. So what happens is that going through a lot of that conversation, there was a lot of effort to do a workaround where maybe the county would bear the burden of those cities that did not join, so they could make the 90% trigger so that that company that they contracted with could move forward with confidence. So again, county staff continued to push back and said, no, we got to get 90% of all the cities, or basically it's just not going to happen, or we're going to wind up pushing this out 8 months. I could tell you that the chair of the solid waste working group did a really good job of getting that group to a final solution, you know, of agreeing to move this out to all the cities and allowing the cities to make that vote on getting this study completed, you know, so long as everybody's got on board before the 11th. The meeting that occurred a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, or when I asked for the consideration, was actually on that same day. Was that 2 weeks ago? They at that time said, well, oops, we're not going to be able to make it. We're not doing it. We're going to push that winter generation study portion of it to November. And so a lot of people were given that notification, and I certainly, as a representative for this city, spoke at that meeting and told them, wait a minute, I made a representation to my commission. I told them that we were going to get this done, and it's not going to get done. And so I totally object to the changing of the schedule. And so it is my objective to bring it back for you all to reconsider the vote that we had done at that time. Now, I'm going to say a few things here more. One of the, I'm not opposed to what this study is attempting to do, generally speaking. I think it's important that we do the study. I do think it's an important component to being able to get there. But I think what's happening, again, is that there is a delay, again, that I fear that we're going to be in this situation again, having to make a determination on whether we're going to be a part of something where it'll be a rush. Because we've now pushed this study out another, and they're talking about years now. They're not talking about years. Yes, I mean I believe it's
So what do you suggest?
well, 22, 23. Well, I need to ask the city attorney, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So we have already fulfilled our obligation. We have already executed a document, and we've already made that payment, a contribution to payment.
Check, right?
Right, and they have received it, and I would assume they've cashed it. And so the question to the attorney is, you know, us asking for that money back, so to say. What is the reality of us being able to
City Attorney?
collect that money back?
May I respond, Mayor? To the Vice Mayor. A couple of observations. When you proposed the motion for reconsideration at the last regular commission meeting, it was legally accurate. It was legally placed before the commission, and it's on the agenda tonight under Robert's rules and under the city code in a proper, legitimate fashion. So let it be known for the record that that was clearly the case. But when you made that motion and you, in good faith, sought to have it agendized for this evening, no one on the dais, including myself or Mike Cirillo, who's in the audience this evening, Assistant City Attorney, we did not know that the contract had been signed. We did not know that the check had either been cut and or delivered. So at the time you made the motion, it was unknown to any one of us that that was the case. Mike Cirillo did a little bit of homework. He dug a little deeper. It took several days, as a matter of fact, just to get the answer, but ultimately determined that the contract was signed, X number of cities signed off, and oh, by the way, they also got the check, and by the way, they cashed it, or at least it got deposited. So from the standpoint of Robert's rules, one could argue that for a contract which has already been executed and performed, that to recall it, so to speak, and I use that word for a reason, may be inartful. But if it be the wish of the commission to look at the matter further to either seek rescission, which theoretically is possible, and or a refund through that rescission process, it may well be a process that you can implement. I would defer to Mrs. Cirillo, who may have some additional thinking, if the Vice Mayor would permit him to speak briefly. But that would be the essence of my suggestion. Again, the legitimacy of it being here, it was quite legally legitimate. The problem is we didn't know 2 weeks ago. Now we do, and the county took the appropriate steps that it needed to get the contract signed off. We finally got a copy signed, and by the way, they did take our check. They didn't send it back. So,
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So hearing that, I don't wish for this city to get into some very long legal battle over some very small amount, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do believe that this was a bait and switch issue. I honestly believe that there may have been an understanding from that staff from Broward County that this may not have been able to get done. So just tell everybody to go ahead, we're going to get it done. And then when they got everything, they switched it and said, well, we can't get it done. I think it's important that we send a message to Broward County because this is a very, very important subject matter in the county. It will commit us to obligating our authorities for solid waste matters. It will obligate us to a cost in the future. And not that it's a bad thing. But I think if this continues that way, where there's a bait and switch, in my opinion, I think we need to send a message telling the county, hey, and I don't think it's the county commission. I think it's the county staff that's driving some of this. We need to let them know that there's some repercussion to some of these things, and we're not going to, Pembroke Pines is not going to stand by and allow this stuff to happen. You know, if we're asked to honor a portion of the agreement, then it's only right that they honor their promises and that they made as an expectation.
What language would you like to put?
So what I like to say is that I would like for us to reconsider this item, turn it down, and have a letter written to the county, tell them, you know, we reversed our decision on this and we like our money back. And I don't know that we're going to get it.
Let's see what
But I think that sends a very strong message.
That's a motion you're making. I'll second it if it's your motion.
That is my
City Clerk?
motion, yes.
City Clerk, call a motion on reconsideration.
Yes, ma'am. Motion to reconsider. Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Oh, yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion to.
You want to go a different direction?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, so the motion would be to not, I'm sorry, to.
No, I got you covered.
Got your back, we got your back.
Just 1 to 5 years ago.
So my motion would be to not enter the First Amendment and to seek our money
Second.
back.
Second by Commissioner Seipel, discussion.
Sure, Mayor.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yeah, quick question, because I see Mr. Cirillo wanting to jump in. City Attorney, are we better off asking in this motion, or should it be a motion to rescind? What's the best way to move forward?
Mayor, if you permit my erudite law partner to make a brief presentation, I think that would be very useful.
I just want to know, rescind or the motion on the table?
Well,
All right, Mr. Cirillo, you want to make a small
we need to
presentation?
clarify the direction, if you will, with one comment on the record from Mr.
Okay.
Cirillo. I
Mr.
understand the
Cirillo,
question.
yes, no?
Oh, where did Mike go? There he is.
We're good.
On the motion.
He was standing up, yes.
Good evening, Mike Cirillo, City Attorney's Office. The motion, I guess, just to clarify, the motion would be to advise Broward County that you'd reconsider the approval from February 2nd, and you're requesting that your approval of the First Amendment be rescinded and the money paid by Pembroke Pines to be returned from Broward County, and we'll provide that information to the county, and we'll advise you of their response.
Good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
All right.
That is the motion.
Further discussion?
And for the record, Mayor,
Could I have a motion?
if you will, just to be clear, the letter would, I assume, come from the city attorney's office or the city manager's office, or
Correct.
both? Yeah.
City Clerk, call the roll, please.
City attorney's office.
I had a comment.
Mr. Dodge.
Who is that?
Castillo.
Who is that?
Commissioner Castillo.
Commissioner Castillo, what's your comment, please?
Yeah, I want to thank Tom for bringing this forward. Vice Mayor, moved by your sincerity in this. I have to tell you that I asked for a time frame from you because I have a suspicion that I think you know what that suspicion is, and it sounds like we're dragging our feet, and I hope that it's just that simple. I hope that it's not a deeper problem of not really wanting to do this and dragging our feet on purpose. But we have a fractured system that does not work. We are increasingly now, as Wheelabrator reaches capacity, sending recycling to dumps elsewhere. This requires a solution because one of the possible escape valves in this scenario is the reopening of the southwest dump right in our backyard, and that cannot be allowed to happen. So, Mr. Dodge, this is the time for you and for your staff to start putting your thinking caps on, because history may be repeating itself, and we may need you to find another rabbit in that hat. We may need a new creative solution to get out of this problem, because very, very quickly, my confidence, which I have tried very hard to sustain for this committee, is running very thin. We already know what our garbage capacity is. There's very little that this study is going to tell us that we don't already know. So I'm totally in favor of the motion.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Schwartz, item 20.
Mayor, before this item begins, I'll be signing off now, having no interest in political theater before an election. So let me wish you all a good night, and I'll see you at the swearing in. Take care. Good night.
Commissioner Schwartz.
If I could have the city attorney read the item, please.
Me? Mayor read?
Are you reading this, or is the commissioner going to read it?
If whatever the mayor pleases.
Sorry?
Whatever the commissioner pleases.
I would like to
Commissioner, why
have,
don't you read it?
I'd like to have the city attorney read the item, please.
Without objection, Mr. Mayor?
I can't hear, everything is real clear, so I'm sorry.
Without objection, Mayor, shall I read?
Go ahead.
At the commissioner's request through the chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 20, as prepared by Commissioner Schwartz, is a discussion and possible action to direct the city attorney's office to prepare articles of censure against Commissioner Angelo Castillo for his actions in his official capacity as an elected official. Commissioner Angelo Castillo's public behavior up to and including verbal assault and unprompted aggressive physical touching of Pembroke Pines Commission members, despite being corrected on multiple attempts during City of Pembroke Pines Commission meetings. Commissioner Angelo Castillo, in his official capacity as an elected official, continues to provide members of the public misinformation on city agenda items, resulting in credibility concerns for the city and the capacity for the city administration to fulfill its obligations under the city charter. Furthermore, the articles of censure shall be transmitted to the Florida Ethics Commission in Tallahassee by a member of the City of Pembroke Pines Commission as complainant. The complainant shall file the articles of censure. Legal sufficiency for the Florida Ethics Commission to move forward with their review. The articles of censure items shall be set for March 16, 2022 to allow affected parties the time to present their testimony and evidence in public. City Attorney's Office shall use the testimony of the public to draft the articles of censure and place the item on the April 6, 2022 Commission agenda. And that, Mayor and Commission, would end the Commissioner's item number 20.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. And City Attorney, could you please read into the record Code 30-50 for the Commission?
May I read, Mr. Mayor?
I didn't hear what he said. I'm right next to him.
You don't hear him or you don't hear me?
What was the question?
I'm asking the City Attorney to read the Code of Ordinances 30.50 into the
got it
record.
now. Okay.
May I read,
Go
Mayor?
ahead. I don't know why I've heard such trouble.
30.51 is entitled Violation of Code. In the code section, it refers back to as 30.50 under the reference called Code of Ethics. And it says, pardon me, any member of the City Commission that violates the ethics and pledges contained in 30.50, which is directly preceding 30.51, shall be subject to censure by at least, this is a misnomer, but it's at least 5/7 vote of the City Commission. That was what the Commission used to constitute, but the conformity with law would suggest it would be a supermajority of 4/5 vote to, in fact, censure a public member of this Commission.
Thank you, City Attorney. It's great sadness that I have to bring this forward. No one's above the law. Nobody. And when the law is broken, it is our job to hold people accountable. There are members of the public who have come forward and asked me to place this on the agenda post-election, so want to interfere. Now, we had a few months ago, every single one of us, except for the city clerk, is aware of what I am alluding to, and I'm going to let that process play itself out. The last two commission items, we had testimony from the assistant police chief indicating that the city was taking actions to effectively make improvements. And yet, despite that testimony, and again tonight, you heard that nothing's been done. The city administration, usually on Thursday mornings, when I say administration, this is a collective sum. We'll say, hey, did you see the commission meeting last night? When's enough enough? We have to act. It's sad, but we have to act. Because if we allow this to continue, then essentially you're giving any one of us or a future member of this commission to do what was done, and it'll be acceptable, and it's not. There is a venue up in Tallahassee that can certainly handle this. It's our job to go ahead and provide them the evidence. Certainly, when you make a statement on behalf of the city in court, public record, I mentioned it at the meeting 2 meetings ago. How do we go about getting a transcript? This isn't innuendo. This is bona fide testimony from the commissioner himself when he said that the only time he has to tell the truth is when he's in the courtroom or on the dais. The question posed to the commissioner was, why did you respond to an email to a member of the public in that way? This office that we hold, despite the disagreements that we may have on a personal view, or a member of the public has a view about us and our opinion, that is democracy. We're entitled to disagree, but we can't ignore fact. And when fact is used, misused on social media to create a sphere of emboldeness, to say that one elected official is the only one who can do anything in the city, we're not working in the same, it's not ethical. I've been on the side of wins and I've been on the side of losses when it comes to items. I think we all have. That's what we get paid to do. And at the end of the meeting, some people are happy and some people aren't. But the mayor, who has served our city well for 25, 26, almost 27 now, is the perfect example of the cheerleader that we should all be working in the same mode. But we're not having that. We're having complete corrosiveness. And despite warnings and the back and forth and the point of orders and the point of clarifications and invoking parts of our decorum, it just hasn't stopped. I reported an issue back in 2018 that occurred in these chambers. As a result of that, things have gotten worse. And we all know, the public doesn't know, but we all know what that was. What my item is tonight, and I appreciate members of the public here to learn more about it, but there's not really much I want to say tonight. The place is at the next meeting, because I wanted to put the public on notice that they can come forward and they can talk about the issues that they've experienced that have just gone too far, that has legal consequences. So with your indulgence, colleagues, I wanted the city attorney, and I want to thank him for helping me prepare the item, to understand the seriousness of this. I don't think any one of us want to do this. But accountability of elected officials in this city has to lead by example. So with that, colleagues, I'd like to move the item as written and have the public testimony on the 16th of March.
All right. Anything further? All right, that's it. Let's, when we go to bed tonight, let's pray for Ukraine.
Are we going to ask for a second, Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you make a motion?
There was a motion, Mayor.
Okay, is there a motion? I'm sorry, there is a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Seipel.
Yes, Mayor. I will second it because if I understand correctly, that what seconding that motion will do is to, at the next meeting, March 16th meeting, would afford not only, as Commissioner stated, the public to have an opportunity if they chose to speak, but it would also, and I think more importantly, would give the accused, if you will, and I don't know if that's really the right word, the opportunity to speak also, which I think is important.
Right.
And for that reason, to not just have certain things said, and I don't, not just that it's innuendos, but it was mentioned that there are facts and there are data. Well, I mean, I think then that needs to be brought out, and it needs to have the opportunity then to be discussed and either rebutted or provided the other side of it. And I think that would be an important thing to have happen.
Right.
So for that reason, Mayor, I would second that based upon having the opportunity for both sides to be able to, a forum and an opportunity for both sides.
Further discussion.
Mayor, if I may,
Go ahead, City Clerk.
2 members of the public in the audience had come forward
All right.
asking to speak on
Public,
this item.
who was it, City Clerk? City Clerk.
Mr. Corrin? Thank
All
you.
right. Anybody else?
Sorry, who was coming up?
No, is there anybody else wants to speak, City Clerk?
No one else, Mayor.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Mayor, if I may, just briefly,
Go ahead, City
just to
Clerk.
clarify for the record, I am not the author of the item. That's to be made clear.
Correct,
The commissioner is. Any commissioner asks me legal questions about process, procedure, the charter, the code, or state law, I'll answer those questions to anybody at any time on a Saturday or Sunday or legal holiday. The commission did ask me some legal questions, and I responded accordingly.
That's why we like you.
Censure is a legal process. It's in Robert's rules, and it's also in your code.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question for the city attorney.
I'm sorry?
I have a question for the city attorney. I
Go
think he
ahead.
alluded to. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. City Attorney,
Yes, Commissioner.
there are a number of items that are listed to-dos in this item. What we are agreeing to tonight is not that any of this action is yet to be taken. Nothing is to happen other than the March 16th meeting, and then from there, whatever gets decided is what would be decided. Is that correct, City Attorney?
May I respond, Mayor?
Go ahead, please.
Commissioner, you're generally correct. The item is multifaceted. It has a number of different provisions in it, several different sentences, different concepts on each sentence or several sentences. These are the terms, conditions, and offerings of Commissioner Schwartz, which he has the legal right to say what he wants to say and to operate under the charter and the code as we discussed earlier during this evening's presentation. So at the end of the day, there's nothing to be taken tonight. If you adopt this motion, all it will do is set in motion a discussion item, the same item on the 16th, to allow for public comment or testimony, because these facts, quite frankly, are the commissioner's facts. He's alleged them. He's put them into this form of presentation, which legally is authorized by the code, and that's what he's done. That being said, it is his suggestions, absent in a public commentary or other comments on the record. It's difficult for the city attorney's office to draft a resolution not knowing what the facts are. So I believe it's if that's your concept and your mission, then that's what the intention would be, I perceive. There are other components of this proposal which are not being asked questions on, but I'm happy to respond if you have any questions.
Thank you,
Clerk,
City
call the
Attorney.
roll, please.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, real quick,
Vice Mayor, is that you?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor. So I want to say that I have great respect for each and every one of my colleagues on this dais. And my constant objective is to support our collectiveness. And what I'm looking at here is, to me, very, very serious. I am not taking this lightly at all. I don't understand enough about what the motion really is in order for me to support this, because if it is to prepare something against one of my colleagues, I need to have more conversation with legal to understand a little bit more about this process here. It goes against me in terms of what I believe is we should support each other, but I understand Commissioner Schwartz does have, very, very firm beliefs and feelings on this, and so I'm not going to support this tonight, and I need to understand more about all these, because there's several things in here, not just one thing.
If I, for a point of clarification,
Mr. Schwartz?
City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure that the legal process is followed and that there aren't any missteps along the way. We have had conversations and the item is drafted in such a way that allows the, let's just say, the process to follow through. So, City Attorney, the Vice Mayor raises a concern. He was there. What can be discussed tonight, if anything?
City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to respond, but I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you help me to clarify?
Okay. The Vice Mayor has a concern. Is there any this is difficult because one of the challenges I had preparing this item was other things that are outside of our control. Vice Mayor. But certainly, this is not opinion. What I'm expecting on the 16th is for the city clerk to swear people in, so that if they lie, they perjure themselves, and we go after them too. So certainly, I am prepared to move forward on the 16th.
Mayor?
And I would ask Vice Mayor to reconsider his position.
Mayor, if I may?
Hold on, he's not done yet.
Okay, sorry.
He's done, Commissioner?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes, Mayor. The reason that I sort of put a little caveat to my seconding on it, and I think I need to say this again, is someone just reading this item is going to have some feeling, some thought that, whoa, something must not be right here. Something, a kind of a negative thing. And the old saying of, you can't put toothpaste back into the tube, is what I'm referring to here, saying, just by virtue of the item being there, there is already that possibility of that discussion, and therefore, that was why I seconded with the caveat saying that the way I would be comfortable, because it's not mine to stop or whatever, it's not my item, but to be comfortable with it would be to give and afford the opportunity for both sides to be able to, in public, just as this was put out in public, to be able to hear rebuttal, explanations, whatever, their story, whatever you want. And that was the reason that I put that, explained that as to the reason I was seconding it, because you can't put this back into the tube. It's out there. That toothpaste is out there. And so, in fairness to all of us, because this is a very, very, very serious issue that we are talking about, very serious issue. And therefore, it would, in my mind, I'm not saying that it should have happened or it should not have happened, this item. What I'm saying is it has happened, but we need to make sure that we let the public who may have just picked this up and seen it and not really know what it is, to have the opportunity to hear both sides of the story, and make their own, I guess, that court of public opinion that they make out there, and to go forward with that. And so that's the reason, because you can't take this back already. There needs to be afforded an opportunity for rebuttal, Mayor. So that was my reason. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
No.
Mayor Ordus?
No.
Matter fails, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry?
The matter fails as
Okay.
a matter of Robert's rules and as a matter of
All
law.
right, folks, have a good evening. Again, say a prayer for the Ukrainians. Thank you. Thank you. I want to destroy this commission, but you're